So let's see where you all are at right now. Feeling grateful, feeling fortunate, grateful, blissful, and fresh. Feeling great, happy, content, blissful, slightly tired, but looking forward to the class. Let's get going. Krishna conscious and happy. Good walk, epic prasadam, Hari Hari Bol. I'm feeling optimistic. I just had a meeting I had been anxious about, and I was able to crush all the other devotees to smither. No, he didn't say that. I was able to get the vote in my favor, so a huge weight off my mind. Now I feel like I can take on the world. Let's get going. Grateful. Feeling great after a guided tour of GV. Really looking forward to this session. Thank you, GBC College. I'm feeling great. Time will tell. Okay. I'll take that as a challenge. I'm feeling great. I am living vicariously. I need to be courageous to put my plans into reality. Wow, I don't even know what the word vicarious means. I am feeling great. A bit down with low energy levels. Had a health challenge yesterday and slowly on my recovery path. I hope you feel better. Feeling good after a nice breakfast. Had good association with devotees today. Morning was fun and nice way to start. Feeling grateful and fortunate. Wanted to attend this seminar since a long time. Feeling excited. One time somebody said that to Prabhupada and he said, that's not very good. Because he understood excited to be like agitated. Yeah. Hoping to have new lessons to take home. I'm feeling grateful for being part of GBC College, meeting wonderful devotees who are very helpful and spiritually grounded. I am also happy to be receiving training. Grateful and happy times 2. Feeling better than yesterday. That's looking forward to today, dear Prabhu. Looking forward to this session. The energy in the room, amazing, blessed, and finally, spiritual energy to become spiritual leader by following Mahajana's footsteps and bring people to Krishna consciousness. Make them happy to Srila Prabhupada's ISKCON movement by performing Sankirtan. Jai. So,
Hare Krishna.
Oh.
Let's welcome Vraj Vihari Prabhu by
Krishna.
loudly chanting Hari Bol. Hari Bol! Hari Bol! I'm sure all of you have had conflicts in your temples and you have consulted the most busiest body in ISKCON Resolve. Yes? Okay. Vraj Vihari Prabhu is going to give his own introduction because I asked him to.
Yes.
And I requested him to. But please realize that Vraj Vihari Prabhu just had a stroke 3 months back. And his dedication to just keep going, of course, he's taking care of his health, which is very, very important. But he's still here. So please value the time you have with him over here today by being fully present, attentive, on time. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
All right. Thank you, Govinda Priya Mataji. So, yes, she asked me to introduce myself, which I was happy to do, but I know I shouldn't be happy to do it. But, okay. So this is 1976 Rath Yatra in New York with Srila Prabhupada. And that's me with the red shirt and the hair. Yeah, I was 17 years old then, and pulling Subhadra's cart, because Prabhupada was sitting, Srila Prabhupada was sitting on Subhadra's cart. So that was my, one time I saw Srila Prabhupada. Then I was a brahmachari for about 12 years in ISKCON Detroit, and that's me with shoelaces untied. That's part of being a brahmachari in the 70s. Okay, I had to do that. Then I got married. That's my wife, Ananda Vrindavaneshwari, and my son. Now, this is the day he got initiated, so now his name is Gokul Raj. And so he got initiated in Dallas. And then when we lived in Vrindavan for 21 years. And I helped to manage the temple with Kadamakanana Prabhu at that time. Then later he took sannyas. And so we worked together for quite some time, served together for quite some time. Am I in your way? Can you see? It's okay? All right. I got interested in conflict resolution and in 2002 started ISKCON Resolve. And I started somehow or other I'm so convinced it's not what you know, it's who you know. And just through contacts, I started working with a project for the Supreme Court of India, training judges. So this is a presentation I'm making to High Court and Supreme Court judges in Delhi 2 years ago. And I also do some consulting work in America. I work for NASA in conflict resolution. They have all kinds of conflicts, just like every organization. So that's a quick history of things that I do. Okay, so. No. I'm joking. All right, so this is our topic for today. Okay, I hope you're in the right place. Right? Don't they say that on an airplane? If check your ticket. If you're not on the right flight, you better get off right now. Right? So this is Krishna mediating between the Kauravas and the Pandavas, and as you know, he was not a very good mediator by his mercy. So I have to add that, right? He arranged so that the mediation did not work out. And yeah, I know Panchagoda is calling, but I can't exactly deal with ISKCON Vrindavan conflicts. Oops, don't look at that. Don't look at that. Yeah. All right, you got a picture. All right. So, yeah, right. So this is so important, though, right? We want to nurture. We want to have we want to. One time, when I was a brahmachari, I was Jayadvaita Swami's servant for a year. We were once at the airport, and in America, and at those days you actually got a paper ticket, and the woman behind the desk gave him his ticket, and he said, "You know what I like about you guys? You are what you say you should be." And Maharaj really liked that. So this is, we want our internal culture amongst the Vaishnavas to be the same as that we preach, right? Have you ever seen I don't know if other parts of the area, but I live near Delhi. And in Delhi, they have those vans that say, for a life of no anxiety, read Bhagavad Gita. Does anyone see that? Or something like that, seen on the side of the vans? Whenever I see that, I say, I wonder what version of Bhagavad Gita they're reading. But anyway, so as Prabhupada said, you have dedicated your life for Krishna, and therefore you should be ideal. We are introducing Krishna consciousness movement for the harmony and goodwill of humanity. But if you yourself are suffering from the very ills we are trying to remove, how can the people be influenced favorably? Stop this fighting, tolerate. I love that last line. Stop this fighting, tolerate. And I was just reading, just before I got here, Prabhupada was, well, I won't the whole thing, it happened in Calcutta, but the last part of it, he was saying that that he never complained. He said he had 2 heart attacks, and the ringing in his ears was terrible for a long time, and he just kept going. So when he tells us to tolerate, he was so tolerant. So if I ask you for one word, when you hear the word conflict, what comes to your mind? So let's just have to... I hope this works. How do I get to the next slide? There we go. Go take your picture and type in a word for conflict. This is the one good use of a phone. Dispute, quarrel, fighting, drain, misunderstanding, problem, opportunity, interesting. Disagreements getting a lot, anxiety, distrust, sadness, non-tolerance, entertaining, really. Come see me during the break. I am looking forward to conflict, clash of ideas, selfishness, political, yes, difference in values, lower modes, quarrel, very good. Disagreements is still the big one, misunderstanding. Because whatever's the biggest, that means that many people voted for that. like that. Okay, good. So you can see most of these are negative. A few of you said opportunity, things like that, impetus for change, and of course, entertaining. Uh, so we'll hope by the end of today that you will see it also as an opportunity, and it's natural, right? It's when someone asks me, "You have a job dealing with conflicts?" I say, "Yeah, it's Kali Yuga. It's a growth industry, right? It's not going anywhere." So organizations are not to be judged because of the conflicts and problems they have. They can be judged with how they deal with them. And a good organization deals with them in a healthy way. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Okay? Oh, and I have to go back to my PowerPoint. All right. Whoops, I'm going the wrong way. So, I don't think we don't have to do another taking pictures, but just raise of hands. What are some of the possible or present costs or consequences of having, conflicts in our organization, in our society? Low morale? Delay in projects? Yes, delay in projects for sure. Waste of energy. Spending Krishna's money. Yeah. Yes. Negative image. Yeah, that's right. Yes. Anyone from India has seen any articles about Patna in the last year? Ah. Yes, Boo. Attrition. People leaving. Yeah. Fragmentation. And yes. Losing enthusiasm. That was what you were going to say. Great minds think alike. Okay. One more. Loss of faith. And two more. Yes. Yeah. So, okay. So, did you say sadhana at the end? Yeah. How many have ever thought of conflicts when you're chanting japa? Anyone besides me? Okay. Right. Yeah. Because the mind gravitates to. It's so interesting. We'll talk about a little later about the mind, but the mind gets some rasa, some taste, not only from positive things but also from negative things. Right? I think many of us can think, if you have one or two like people throughout your life where you've really had a bad experience with really negative, sometimes you think of them more intensely than you think of your best friend. Right? Isn't it? Okay, so let's talk about the causes of conflict. Okay, so now we have a lot to cover today, but I'm not going to try to be like in a rush. We'll do it, dire, slowly, and really try to absorb it. So I'm going to try to cover a little less, but have it not just go in one ear and out the other. Okay, but really, so this is really important, this part. Okay, so I'm going to let you know the number one cause of conflict. I know I wasn't asking you, I'm going to tell you. that wasn't a question. All right, okay. All right. And in general, I love this statement from Srila Prabhupada that, a devotee is as thoughtful as a non-devotee is speculative. So really, let's put on our thinking hats right now, okay? And really think clearly about this. So the number one cause is making assumptions. And it's not in ISKCON, it's in families, it's with friends, it's with enemies, it's in organizations, it's in the corporate world, it's everywhere. So what are some assumptions that we read about in the Shastra? I'll start, and then I want you to raise your hand and tell me others. But an obvious one is Maharaj Parikshit and Samak Rishi. Right? Maharaj Parikshit assumes Samak Rishi is faking his samadhi, right? And then he takes the dead snake and garlands him. And of course it's Krishna's arrangement, we know that, but think of all the consequences from that one thing, right? Sometimes it's said that Shringi, who started Kali Yuga, the Bhagavatam is spoken, Parikshit Maharaj, the king of the world, dies in 7 days. So many things happen. because of that one wrong assumption. What are some other assumptions from the Shastra? Daksha and Shila? Okay, what was the assumption? Yes, okay. Very good. Intentionally, yes, very good. Because I was also thinking of Sati, because she assumed that she was going to have a great time at the party. Yeah, did that go south, as I say? Did that go wrong? Yeah. And what was the assumption there? That he was like offending by drinking this water, right? Whereas he was actually talked to the brahmanas and figured it out. Yes, Prabhu. Oh, do we have microphones? I have one here also. Hare Krishna. Yeah. And come on, you all wake up. Yes.
Indra thinking that Prathu will become next Indra.
Indra thinking?
Prathu will become the next Indra. The reason why he's doing the sacrifice.
He was his competition.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, in the back. Krishna's two Bhagavan Swayam. So the assumption that Krishna killed.
Krishna stole Shamantak money.
Right, Krishna stole, yes, yeah. And that was interesting, right? Because in the Krishna book, Prabhupada says that the rumors spread throughout Dwarka. So it's not only rumors that we get, in social media, but even in Krishna's time, there were rumors about him. Imagine. Yes?
And assuming that Vrajvasis are supposed to worship him because he's a supreme.
Yeah. Indra's always getting in trouble. Every canto he's in trouble. Right? Isn't it? He's such a great devotee, but yes, Mataji. Yep, there you go.
Okay. Kunti Devi, she thought or assumed that Arjun got anything ordinary but was Draupadi, and she said to share with the brothers.
I'm not sure.
When Kunti
Devi?
Yeah, she assumes that Arjun.
She assumed that Arjuna
got any charity.
Oh yeah, okay, yes. When she said yes, just
share with the brothers.
And then share with your brothers. That's a good one, actually. Very good. There's so many. Okay, two more, and then we'll continue. Yes, Prabhu. Because he has a mic, so he rules.
Bhishma and Amba.
Bhishma and Amba, tell us that one.
So Bhishma abducted Amba, and she wanted to marry Salva, but Bhishma, when he abducted, so Salva rejected Amba. So Amba wanted to marry Bhishma, but Bhishma said that I will not marry. So then she approached Parashuram. So this was a conflict.
Okay. Yeah.
The assumption was that Amba thought that anyhow, if he's abducting me, then he'll marry.
Yeah, but he was an eligible. Assuming Bhishma was an eligible bachelor.
Yeah, but he
as
was
they
not.
say. Okay, one more. Yes.
Narada Muni was assuming Brahmaji as Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Very good. Very good. Okay, so let's just go through a few of them. Thank you. And there's plenty more. Think of this one. Because this is Vibhishan surrendering to Ram. Right? And the monkey warriors, what did they base it on, right? They based on his birth. He was born. Do we ever make assumptions about people, where they were born or who their family is? Does that ever happen? His association, you ever assume things about people? He was just hanging out with Ravana, Kumbhakarna, right? You don't see it here, but I would assume he may have even had some, like, whatever the demon's style was in those days. So you can see their body language, right? Right? Yeah. The Yamadutas assumed that Yamaraj was supreme, just like Narada assuming Brahma was supreme. Yeah. Hiranyakashipu assumed he was immortal. Right? And what about this one? Parvati Devi assumed that Chitraketu was making fun of her husband. And again, big consequence, right? The whole thing with Vritrasura and chapters of the Bhagavatam happened because of this. So, and I'm sure we could spend the next half hour easily just going through the combing the Shastra. And so we're learning a lot. The Shastra is teaching us again and again that assumptions are an issue. And that's one we spoke about. How about this one? When Vishwarup took sannyas, Sachimata thought that Advaitacharya had persuaded him to do so. Therefore, she accused Advaitacharya of this, which was an offense at his lotus feet. Later, Lord Chaitanya induced his mother to take the dust of Advaitacharya's lotus feet, and thus her Vaishnava aparad was nullified. Oh. Okay, now, this is not an easy thing sometimes. By the way, I'm going to give you all these slides, so if you don't need to take a picture of everyone, unless you want to, you know. Think of an assumption that you made that was incorrect or someone made about you. I'm going to give you about a half minute because it's not so easy. Even though you probably made 5 this morning, sometimes it's a little hard to think of them. I'll give you a half a minute to try to think. Raise your hand if you've thought of one. We're not asking you to say it out loud, but have you thought of one? Okay, yeah, it's not so easy. I had one just the other day. I mean, so many. I was leaving Govardhan Hill, and Jagatrini Mataji was going there, and I stopped her, and I had an exchange and showed her some pictures on my phone, and afterwards I made this, oh my God, what did I do? I offended her. She's just about to give a kata. She's probably going to ask Giriraj's blessings, and here I am, you know, talking about families and this and that. And so I sent her a message saying, Mataji, I'm so sorry. And she wrote back, said, your assumption's completely wrong. It was so nice talking to you. You know, so even that was a little thing, right? That wasn't huge consequence, but still, she was like, no, it was a great conversation. Okay, 1 or 2. I just want to be careful of time, but who has a juicy one? All right. Microphone?
When on our first day of GBC college, I was scared of Govinda Priya Prabhu. But as time passed by, I Govinda Priya Mataji. But as time passed by, I felt more and more comfortable and realized she's very helpful and nice and kind.
You should be afraid of Govinda Priya Mataji, if you know what's good for you. All right, no, but that's a standard one, right? That we have, you know, something about we're meeting a person for the first time, or maybe we heard something about them, right? And that impression is there. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes have you ever had this, you know, you've heard something negative about someone, and then you met them and said, they were so nice, right? It's happened to you? Regularly. You go around asking for negative feedback about people? No. It comes automatically. It's Kali Yuga, yes.
When I first time came here, after having prasadam in Govindas, just passing this road, I wanted to find out what is the location, this Satsang Bhavan. So our class will take place. I was passing this road with one devotee, and Govinda Priya Mataji was sitting here inside with another Mataji. She was doing some official work. And she looked outside and she's telling the Prabhu, this is that where what you're searching. And get inside, and I saw her, and she showed me the paper. Look, these are all students. And I saw she is moving hand like this, like this. I told Mataji, you are already leader and you have bossing power. So later I understood, actually she has that quality, leadership quality and bossing power with love and devotion.
Okay.
So this society, International Society for Krishna Consciousness, Srila Prabhupada, he give us what is love.
Yes.
And that love with devotion and through service.
Thank you.
So these 3 things we get here, love, devotion, through service. And these 3 things we saw in Govinda Priya Mataji and with her team.
Do you make assumptions about anyone else except Govinda Priya? What's going on here? All right. How about this one? How about this one? Wherever you are in the world, what assumptions do your average person think when they see you, either Dodi Kurta or Sari Tilak? What assumptions do people make? Yes?
Colgate company.
What's that?
They have more money than Colgate company.
Yeah. They have more money? Okay. Brainwashed. What country are you in? In India, they're brainwashed. Okay. Yes.
That we are Buddhists.
We are Buddhists. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Yes, Prabhu.
People think we send money outside.
We say, yeah, that's so funny because it's the opposite. When I joined, the mantra was every book is a brick. Every time we sold a book, that was a brick for Mayapur Dham. And now it's like the other way around. Yes.
Think of us as irresponsible and parasitic.
Irresponsible and parasitic.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. In fact, it is the other way around also. They think that we get, because this is an international society, we get monies from outside countries, dollars and all.
Okay. So people make all kinds of wrong assumptions. Yes.
People think we are paid. People think also good about ISKCON.
Yeah, they make good assumptions. Yes.
They are very organized. They do stuff. Yes.
But it's also positive.
Yes.
So that's what I feel, because normally everybody thinks ISKCON so nice. They want to be associated with the brand ISKCON.
Very good. Yes, and it's a very good point. You can make positive assumptions also. People, and that's good. Generally, it's a good thing to do. That's funny you say, because when, especially in the West, I'm selling somebody a book and they say, I don't like organized religion. And well, then you should take this book because we're not organized at all. We're very disorganized. Okay, so I think we should move on, but assumptions are flying everywhere. Now, there's nothing wrong with them. Probably more than 50% of them are accurate. Okay? But when they're not right, and when we act on them, they cause so much conflict. So much conflict. Oh, I know, yeah. See, if you have a false assumption and you take an action, it can get scary. And sometimes you can even, Lord Chaitanya was obviously he preached a lot about avoiding Vaishnava aparad. You know, the mad elephant. I couldn't find an elephant in the garden, but I found one on the elephant flipping over a car. So, you can imagine what that elephant would do in a nice garden, right? So we have to be so careful. And here's a funny one. So you have to be a little careful about that one. Yeah. Yeah. And can you relate to this one? I've had a lot of worries in my life, most of which never happened. Can anyone relate to that? Yes. So that's a kind of assumption. We think, this is, we worry, we make worst case scenarios, right? And then then it doesn't happen, and then we almost forget that we even made that assumption. So a quick story. I'll make it brief. When I was working for the U.S. government, I would travel a lot. And I'd have to rent a car when I arrived at a city. And I arrived at a city, and it was late at night, and they only had, usually government employees can only rent economy cars. If you're from India, it'd be like a Maruti 800 or, something like that, or an Ambassador, if you remember what those were. Right? Or in America, it would be just like a Ford Focus or something like that. No offense, Ambrish Prabhu. But they only had one car left that night, which was one of these fancy red Mustangs. And they had to give it to me at the economy rate because it wasn't my fault. It was the only car they had left. I was happy. It was a fun car to drive. So I got to the place. I used to work with Native Americans a lot, American Indians. What do they say? Feather, not dot. Does that make sense at all? Yeah, okay. So American. So I drove to this reservation where Native Americans live, American Indians. And look at it says BBT. I didn't notice that. And I went there to do a training like this, and the supervisor said, no one showed up for the training. I said, what's going on? And he said, we canceled the training. I said, what do you mean you canceled? I flew all the way from Washington, D.C. to Texas, and I drove 3 hours to this place. And I said, why? He said, we're so sick and tired of hot shots from D.C. like you. You know, who do you think you are, you know, spending government money on that fancy car? Right? So did he make an assumption? Yeah, right, that I paid more for the car. Anyway, I started laughing, and then he got more upset, but then finally I explained what happened. We had, you know, and the training went on. But yeah, so this is kind of how assumptions work. First, we just, you know, observe the world like a video camera would, or like on your phone, right? Just neutrally. But then we usually focus on something when we're making an assumption, right? Like we were talking about Vibhishana, you know, how imagine if I had walked in today with dreadlocks down to here, you know, long hair, down to here, maybe a tie-dye shirt with a peace sign on it. Would you have made some assumption, right? Or if I had a, you know, a Armani suit that's worth 5 lakh rupees, if I, you know, right? Or if I had, you know, tilak going this way instead of this way, right? So we focus on something. They focused on the car. And they made some assumption because they added, you know, the Mustang, even though it's only 4 wheels and a body, it's different than a Maruti 800, right? Anyone ever know what a Maruti 800 is from India, right? Is there a little difference between that and the red Mustang? Yeah. So they drew a conclusion that they assumed that I paid more money. They drew a conclusion that I was a hotshot from D.C. They have not had very good success 200 years of white people from Washington, D.C. coming to their reservations, right? So, and they took an action, at least temporarily, they canceled the training. So how long do you think it takes usually to go up this ladder? Seconds, right? Right? If I would have come, or if I don't know, what would, like a purple dhoti or something like that, you might have like, it would only take a second to think, what the heck? Why did they invite him? Right? Right? Must be Govinda Priya's Mataji's brother-in-law or something. Right? Who knows? So how to deal with assumptions? And this is an important part, how to deal with them. The President of the United States once had this saying, trust but verify. I like that. You trust people, but also verify. Or I told you, Kadamba Kanan Rashi's from the Netherlands. With a devotee, preaching there. And we were talking about love and trust one day. And he said, Vraj, I'm Dutch. He said, I love everybody. Trust? Not so easy. So first of all, we remember, you know, how many Bhagavatam classes have you all given talking about these 4 things? But do we really let it sink in? Because I find when devotees are in conflict, all of a sudden they forget all about this. And I think that their perception of reality is spot on. Have you ever seen that, right? Rajas and tamas kind of take over. But we should, I think it's such a simple, basic point, right? It's mentioned in the beginning of Ishopanishad and other places. But it's really important that we have, you know, as conditioned souls, we have these 4 defects. Right? And so what we see through and hear and think, what we see through our senses and think through our mind is not necessarily accurate, especially if it's not based on, you know, Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. It may be, but it may not be. But we can get very convinced. Have you ever seen somebody like totally convinced about something that you think they're totally wrong? Anyone have that? Only me? All right, so that's one thing to remember. We have these 4 defects. And then walking down the ladder, and the main point is the bottom one. Is there another possible explanation, especially one that may be more positive? If If you catch ourselves making, what if Parvati said, well, maybe he wasn't making fun. Maybe I should ask him about it or something, right? She didn't jump to conclusions. Or Parikshit Maharaj said, well, let me sit down and wait because I'm not sure. Maybe he's actually in samadhi, right? Think of how we might not have the Bhagavatam today because of that, but you get the idea. That think of other possible explanations. That's one way to deal with assumptions. And when we find ourselves making assumptions, this is so important, be curious. The mantra is be curious, not judgmental. Be curious, not judgmental. They would have asked me, how did you get that red Mustang? Why are you wearing a purple dhoti? Right? And then you find out that, well, you wouldn't believe this, but they were, the laundry man put it in with a purple sweater and it got all purple and it's the only dhoti I have, and then, oh, okay. And instead of like saying, who's this guy? Right? So be curious, not judgmental. We're going to see a video in a little while about it, but just be curious a little longer. We can be very judgmental, even as devotees, Okay? And in general, assume good intentions. In general. I know every now and then there's a real bad person. What is it? Kali Chela? Is that what? Who quoted that? Is that Bhaktivinoda Thakur? Or? Bhaktivinoda Thakur, yeah. So, every now and then, but it's not like 50% of the devotees are Kali, right? So in general, assume good intentions. Because this idea of, especially as leaders, the idea of self-fulfilling prophecy. Have you heard of that term? In other words, you treat somebody as if they're good and they will want to be good. Right? It's a general, and in general, Prabhupada was encouraging. Now, especially with his senior devotees, he would chastise. And he writes about that in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that the advanced disciple can be chastised because there's already that bond and trust. Now, next question. So before because we're kind of moving on, any questions, comments, thoughts about assumptions? Okay, yes, Prabhu? Is there a microphone in the house?
Many times if there are negative assumptions, they're generated based on the inherent insecurity in the heart.
Yes. So can they be reflections of impurities or let's say influence of rajas and tamas? Yes, but like I said, many of them are correct. So one has to make a distinction, and especially when you're dealing with another person, why not ask? Especially if it's negative, right? Why not ask? Yeah. Yes, Mataji? Did you have your hand up?
Yes, that it's hard to actually get over assumptions.
It's hard to get over assumptions. Yeah, I'm not telling you to get over assumptions. It's natural. We do them, but be aware that that's what's happening. Usually we accept what the mind tells us as a fact. We're going to hear about the Advanti Brahmana definitely tells us not to do that, right? The 11th canto. So I find this helpful in our Krishna consciousness because it helps us be introspective. It helps us kind of go in a helicopter and watch the actions of the mind and see when we're making assumptions and things. So that's a good segue into this. Let me ask you a question. What do you see? You can raise your hands or just call out quickly. What do you see? Tennis player? I see you.
Rafael Nadal angry.
He's angry. Okay, angry. I see you. Intensity. I got the punch. Revenge.
Someone wearing sportswear in blue and
Someone wearing blue and white.
I proved a point.
Painting. His finger may be painting. Very good. One more? I will get to you. Okay. Now, let me ask you a question. What was the question I asked you? What do you see? Only Mataji actually said what she saw. Right? You all interpreted. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. We're going to talk about this. But when I said, what do you see? She was the only one who said a blue and white headband. And everyone else was saying, intensity, anger, his fingers painting. First time anyone's ever said that one. That was very, very creative. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Okay, so it's really helpful. Just like, again, being introspective, but also when we're talking to another person. What is the person doing? Observing, just like Mataji did. Interpreting, which what everyone else did. And again, nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying that's what you did. You interpreted. And I don't think any of you evaluated, like saying, meat-eating karmi demon, right? That would have been evaluating or something like that, right? You're a real loser, although he's one of the greatest tennis players in the world. He retired recently. So it's not so easy to just neutrally observe. It's actually not so easy. You see how and again, this is not a criticism. Most of us immediately went to interpretation, even though I said, what do you see? And again, there's nothing wrong with it. What's wrong is if we accept the interpretation as fact, instead of saying, oh, that was an interpretation. Maybe there's another interpretation. But what I do see is that this person has their finger pointing and they're sweating and like that. Okay? So here's some quotes about observation. The highest form of intelligence is the ability to observe without evaluating. Now, I know we don't subscribe to Krishnamurti's philosophy of life, but of theology, but it's a good point. And you can observe a lot just by watching. Yogi Berra is he's not a yogi. He was a sports person in America. He had a lot of funny things. He said, if you come to a fork in the road, pick it up. I thought that was funny. Okay. And then for most of us, it is difficult to make observations, especially of people and their behavior, that are free of judgment, criticism, and other forms of analysis. And this can be very helpful if you think of Bhagavad Gita chapter 10, verse 32, where Krishna says that I am Vada, right? Vada is the dispassionate, sattvic search for the truth. Jalpa and Vitanda, he says in the purport, and that there's some differences between the two, but basically they're dishonest ways of just, I'm going to win no matter what. Right or wrong, I want to win. Right? But Vada is, so it's more at least focusing, well, this is what I observe, and this is how I interpret it. How do you interpret it? And have a conversation. So it's not so easy to be aware of which one we're doing. Instead of saying Krishna Das procrastinates, we might say Krishna Das saves all his Diwali shopping until the day before Diwali. So the second one is an observation. Right? The first he procrastinates. Maybe that's the only thing. Maybe actually he's usually quite proactive. Right? Or instead of old people are slow drivers, a more specific observation would be, no matter what road he is on, my elderly uncle always drives 15 kilometers below the speed limit. So one is a factual observation, and the other one is, a evaluation. So again, like with assumption, know when we're making assumptions, and know when the person that we're talking to, are they making an evaluation, are they making an interpretation, or are they actually just stating the facts? Because the three become a kitri, and that causes a conflict. So which one of these are observations? Second one is an observation, yes. Right? Just clear. She knits a sweater while watching the Mridanga lesson. 7, yes. Nitai Das was the last one out the door every day last week. And there's one that's kind of borderline. 9. Lalita Dasi told me that red isn't my color. Yes, because if she did say that, right? Okay, good. So, anything about observations, interpretations, evaluations? Yes, see, Prabhuji, if you should use microphone. But he said involuntary, very good choice of words. Without even thinking about it, it's second nature that we go to interpretation right away. And it doesn't always lead to clear thinking. You know, it's just like, what is it? Uttama Shloka Gunana Varnam. Krishna is glorified by choice words, carefully, you know. Just like it's so wonderful sometimes when you read the commentaries or read Prabhupada dissecting a verse from the Bhagavatam, and you can see that, you know, we sometimes read it, next page, but there's so much in even that one verse. Okay? Yes? Yes. So Prabhuji is saying evaluation can come from past experience. Absolutely. And we're not saying there's anything wrong with evaluating. Did Prabhupada ever evaluate? Did he ever call anyone a rascal? Right? It's just we just want to be aware that's what we're doing. We're choosing to do that. What your point was, again, remind me? What did you just say? Past experience. Yes. And our chitta vritti, our worldview is affected. What are the things that affect the way we see the world besides past experience? Our conditioning. What kind of conditioning? Yes? The modes. Tax? Oh, facts. Okay, facts. How about, go ahead, Prabhu.
Any previous conflicts?
Yeah, so experience, yeah. What about purva samskars from previous lives, right? What about the social economic background that you grew up in, your education, your association, your parents? In bhakti, it could also be the early training that you had in Krishna consciousness, right? All those things can have that we carry those around with us all day, and then when we see something, it goes through all of those filters. And of course, we want to hopefully have the main filter be Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. We might not be able to relinquish all of our parabdha karma and the way we see the world, but at least to be aware that's what we're doing. And you see, if I understand that's what I'm doing, and then I see, Prabhu, where are you from?
Canada.
Canada, which part?
Toronto.
Oh, okay. No wonder you're so happy. Okay. Were you born there?
No, Mauritius.
Oh, okay, Mauritius. All right, so if I see, I'm dealing with someone from Mauritius, right? And he thinks, all the kirtans in the world should be just like how Madhava leads kirtans, right? Because he's from Mauritius also, right? And, Mauritians have to stick together. We sometimes call them Martians also. Yeah. But if I realize I'm from New York and I see it this way, and he's from Mauritius, he sees it, and I can appreciate, we're probably going to see things differently because we have all of those different experiences, different purva samskars, different upbringing, different cultures. Right? My uncle was the mayor of Toronto. Yeah, believe it or not. But that's another topic. But I'm not this body, so he's not really my uncle. Anything else? Okay, but I really like your point. It's what was the word you used? Involuntary. Involuntary. Yeah, but even involuntary can be a problem. They even have involuntary manslaughter. You killed somebody, right? So we want to. So involuntary doesn't necessarily mean good. So it's just, so much about dealing with conflicts is catching ourselves and understanding what's going on. Okay, here's another one to really make your day not so bright. In any conversation, any connection with another human being, we only get 50% of the picture. When I speak to you, I know my intent, but I don't know the impact it has on you. When you speak to me, I know the impact you have on me, but I don't know your intention. So many conflicts happen because the intention does not match the impact. Have you ever had a conversation and you can tell by the other person's body language they don't understand what you're saying? Has anyone ever had that experience? Right? You can even tell by their body language, right? Yeah. So that is also really important when we're dealing with conflicts, to help people understand, especially as a mediator. Mediator is a person that helps two people who are having a conflict sit down and try to work things out. Prabhuji is one of our great star trainees. Yes. So one of my jobs as a mediator is to clarify this. Oh, when you said that, did you mean this? Because that's what they think you meant. Oh, no, I didn't mean that. No, sorry. Right? And you get a chance to clarify this. And even for ourselves, if we think a person may not understand our intention, we might want to just say it. I'm saying this to you because, right? Because this is a huge cause of conflict. Well, everything we're talking about now is causes. We're going to talk about, we talked a little bit about solutions, right? Anyone remember how to deal with assumptions? It was like 10 minutes ago, so. Be curious, not judgmental. Anything else?
Good intentions. Good intentions. Good intentions.
Okay, assume good intentions, and there was one other. Avoid interpretation, or not avoid it, but know when you're making it. Yes, and the other one was look for other explanations, other possibilities. Okay? Teak? Huh. Okay. Good intention, bad results. Okay, so there's a saying in English, the path to hell is paved by good intentions. And what that means is it's good to have good intentions, right? Anyabi lashita sunyam gyanakarna, right? That verse is all about good intentions. But it's also sometimes important to be able to communicate good intentions. Now, I know we're not doing communications here, but when I do trainings for new leaders, I often say, if you knew how much, it's connected to assumptions, if you knew how much communication you had to do to avoid miscommunication, you would never want to be a leader. Because whenever there's a little vacuum, in other words, not some information, people in Kali Yuga tend to make negative assumptions. They tend to make negative, and then these days they make negative assumptions and they put it on social media. Anyone ever seen that? Never. Right, okay. So this is how we learn many things in life, and this is how I hope we will learn things here. So, when you were taking your, what was for prasadam today? Dosa. When you're having your dosas today and your coconut chutney and the wada and all that, you weren't even thinking about assumptions, I assume. Is that a fair assumption? Right? So you were, not that you were unconscious and incompetent, but you get the point, that we don't even know what we don't know. So now we're at least here. We just spent 40 minutes or so talking about assumptions and becoming more aware of them. So now hopefully we could, by becoming more conscious of them, we actually start, catching ourselves, or at least knowing, oh, that was an assumption I made. Maybe it's the right assumption, but maybe I should be curious and check. And then sometimes after a while, it just becomes second nature. Like, we go through this when we're learning to ride a bicycle or drive a car, right? And then now, if you have a license and everything, you don't even think about it practically. You get in the car, turn it on, and just start driving. Okay. Oops, wrong way. Okay, let's see. We have a little more theory. We get into practice a little bit later. But are you all good? You're awake? Anyone awake? Raise your hand if you're asleep. Okay, just checking. All right. So let's talk about more causes of conflict, right? We talked about assumptions being the number one cause. Here's 5 more. Information, resources, relationships, structures, and values. Let's talk briefly. Sometimes there can be a conflict over information, right? If you don't have something, you tend to speculate. We speculate about information or just don't know. A GBC resolution or an instruction by Srila Prabhupada about a particular topic. Different views on what information is relevant. Like, how do you measure success? Is it the number of brahmacharis? Is it the number of books that go out? Is it the number of plates of prasadam that's distributed? The number of people that come on a Sunday? Right? Somebody will say, "Oh, our temple is the most successful because we have 50 brahmacharis." Well, who cares about 50? How many books do you distribute? Well, we're not focusing. So you can have a whole fight over just you're discussing which information is more important, or just not having enough information. Okay. Now, resources, always conflicts about resources, right? Even if, the interesting thing about Srila Prabhupada and ISKCON, even if we had $1 billion each, we could use it up, right? And then say, "Oh, now we're broke," right? You know what I mean? So there's almost always conflicts over, devotee engagement, how to spend money. You can read this. I did a conflict a little while ago. A temple got a donation, a good-sized donation. It was a very poor temple, and the head pujari wanted to make a really opulent, beautiful outfit for Janmashtami. And the Sankirtan leader said, "No, the brahmacharis really need a new Sankirtan van." And there was a war going on between the two of them. Someone would say, "Prabhupada said book distribution is number one priority." And then the other one said, "Prabhupada said if the deity is satisfied, then everything goes well." They all had their Prabhupada quotes that they were throwing at each other, right? So there's conflict often over resources. And of course, relationships have conflicts. There are many ways. If there's interdependence, inflexibility or extra flexibility followed by resentment are common. Different perspectives. Anyway, we know relationships have conflicts. But the next one I think is interesting. Structures can cause conflict. Right? Who has access to power? Who has the ear of the temple president? Right? Who has access to the resources? Who can influence how decisions are made? Right? And this has been a big one, right? The authority of the guru versus the temple president. Anyone ever seen that? Yes. Yeah. Everyone else will say, "No, not." Yeah. No, in some places it's not a problem. And sometimes it's, well, should we care for devotees or should we spread Krishna consciousness? So the one example I'll just give you that I think can be helpful is this was like back in 1979. And we had a program that whoever won the marathon, the book distribution marathon, we called it Christmas marathon in those days, we got to go to India for the festival. Okay? And I wasn't the Sankirtan leader that year, but I noticed the atmosphere amongst the Sankirtan devotees was not very nice. If somebody did really well, they weren't so happy because then they say, "Well, he's going to get to go to India and I'm not." Right? So then they made me the Sankirtan leader in 1980, and I said, "Well, this is just ridiculous." I said, I talked to the temple president. I said, "Let's do this. Let's set a really high goal, like almost impossible to reach. But let's set it for the team. And if we reach that goal, which is so high, we can all go to India." And that totally, by changing that structure, it totally changed the atmosphere in the yatra. Everyone was super happy when someone else did big, did well, and they were encouraging each other. And we actually reached the goal, and we all went to India. And there was plenty of money for them to go. It changed everything by changing the structure. So structures can cause conflict. Okay, and finally, values. Because yes, no, we don't have any problem with values. We follow Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Oh, if it was only that easy. Right? These are often the most difficult to deal with. Reactions to this conflict is usually defensive. Challenges to value are taken as threats to a person or group's identity. I'll give you an example. And I can mention names because this has happened maybe 20 years ago when I was helping manage in Vrindavan. And the Goshala was getting very crowded with cows. So I'm from New York. I didn't even know milk came from a cow practically when I grew up. I mean, I guess theoretically, I'd never seen a cow. Right? I thought milk just came from the store. You get it in the carton. And one of the, Devakinandan Prabhu, one of the people there at that time, he might have been temple president at that time, not sure. He's from a village in Bihar. So talk about different upbringings, right? So I said, well, we have to stop breeding the cows. Obviously, and for me it was like, a no-brainer. If it's getting too crowded, you have to stop having more cows. And he stood up and he said, that's sinful. I was like, what? And he grew up in his village that would be sinful to stop a cow from breeding. And for me, it was like, what? Are you kidding? I mean, come on. It's not, it's just practical. So we had, we worked it out, but it was quite a clash for a little while. And it was, we had different value system. Right? So, and some of our big conflicts in ISKCON are value ones, because they're the hardest to address. Okay, so comments, questions on sources of conflict? Yes, Mataji.
Prabhu, earlier you mentioned about Vada. And there are two parts to it.
Jalpa and Vitanda, yeah.
Yeah, could you explain that?
During a break, I can get up the
whiteboard
purport, and also I think it's Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's explanation of it. One is we have scholars here. Maharaj is a scholar. Somebody, anyone know the technical difference between Vitanda and Jalpa? We'll look it up.
Okay. So
yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, in the back. Do you have a microphone?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know where you put it, but conflict over interpreting philosophy.
Interpreted philosophy.
Interpreting philosophy, because I don't know whether you put in the values, because, there's a big conflict about, within the whole ISKCON about certain people following certain kind of philosophy and certain people have, and they discuss on, Prabhupada said this, one guy, no, Prabhupada didn't say this, and then, especially when we have in a meeting, somebody will come with some shloka to, insist his point is the best point because this is what the Shastra says, yes. And we should use only such kind of a ghee because if you use this ghee, then only you're doing it. You understand my point?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
It's often, well, gosh, I don't know. It's a really good question, and I have a slide on it well, I hope I don't make you dizzy, but since you're answering the question, I'm going to go through it and find it. So many. Because sometimes I like to do that, when someone asks a question that is going to be covered later. I mean, it's a lot later. That's my fear. Like I said, this is all coming attractions. This is all the things you can listen to. My God, I should have just skipped over it. Anyway, we're getting there. Aha, okay. So, this is a little theoretical. Okay, so put on your thinking hats here. There's two things. There's issues, like you said, And then there is negotiating reality means not like absolute truth, but the way people see the world. Okay? So if you can talk about how we see the world and how we may see it differently and how we should discuss it, the issues become easy. But if you can't do that, then we fight over the issues. Right? So many times the issue is a symptom. It's the Prabhupada quote, somebody already has their view of how things should be, and then they choose the Prabhupada quotes that they like. I'll give a really bad example. People from India won't be able to, yeah, of course you can. When I was a child, we would, at holiday time, Christmas time, even though we were Jewish family, but still, we would get these candies. And they were just small sweets, individually wrapped. And half of them were milk chocolate and half of them were dark chocolate. Okay? My brother and I loved the milk chocolate and we didn't like the dark chocolate. So by the New Year's, there would be all the dark chocolate left and all the milk chocolate gone, right? Because we picked and choose the milk chocolate. So people do that with Prabhupada quotes also. They already know what they want to say. And then they pick, they pick the quotes that really fit their thing. And they have some creative way sometimes of discarding the other quotes. Or either ignoring them or explaining them. Instead of just accepting Prabhupada said different things at different times. Right? So if we can have a discussion about how Prabhupada said different things at different times. And I'm seeing it this way, maybe because it's part of my conditioning, or maybe it's because I'm preaching in this part of the world, and you're preaching in that part of the world. And so we, in this part of the world, this would be easy to accept, and this part of the world, that would be easy to. If we can have that kind of discussion, then this is easy. But if we don't have this kind of discussion, then this becomes really tough. Is that helpful? Yes, no, maybe? Okay. Anything? We have 10 more minutes until the break. Is that right? Yes. Okay. I'm going to do a Sachinandan Swami thing right now, and I forget what it's called. Maybe someone can tell me what the kind of pranayama it is. But you raise your hands, and then you pull your hands up, and you make a fist, and you exhale. Okay, that should make you stay awake the next 10 minutes. It's good, isn't it? You feel, yeah. Okay. Because it's going to take me 10 minutes to go back to the other slides. Okay, was there any other questions on this point? But it's a great question and something that we could talk about for a long time. But what we want to encourage, and what ISKCON Resolve tries to encourage, is we sit down calmly, respectfully, and we dispassionately look at things. And we try to say, yes, Prabhu. We try to, I always encourage devotees in the mediation to balance courage and consideration. Courage to make your points. Not that we surrender our way of seeing things. No. Make your points, even make them strongly, but consideration, listen to the other person. I heard a quote the other, and let's see if I get this right, but basically, argue your point as if you're 100% right, and listen to the other person as if you're 100% wrong. And really have to hear what they say, and then find that balance. Then, but sometimes we don't. Oh, Krishna, right? And basically trying to address a conflict on the internet or social media is just shrama eva hi kevalam. Right? It's just a waste of time. It's just not the right forum for trying to deal with sensitive issues. You know what it's like, it's 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock at night and somebody sent you something and steam's coming out of your ears and your keyboard's on fire. And you type something, you hit send, and then they get it. It's like Prabhupada, the example Prabhupada gave up in Bengal, how the teachers would chastise students, right? I'd hold your ears and you'd hold mine, and they'd say pull, right? So I would pull, he would feel more pain, so he'd pull harder, I would feel more pain, I'd pull harder, and just this kind of downward spiral. So, sattva guna is so important. And Vaishnav Sadachar, there should never be a reason that we throw out Vaishnav Sadachar. Can somebody, because even, somebody who blasphemes Krishna, then, dealing heavy with them is still part of Vaishnav Sadachar, right? But there's no reason to give up Vaishnav Sadachar in dealing with one another. We can say, Prabhu, from my point of view, you are absolutely wrong. You don't know what the heck you're talking about. You misinterpret Shastra. You do all that. But I still accept you as a good devotee. And let's talk about this. How would that be? Would that change things sometimes? Yeah. So that's what we're trying to encourage. Not that there's nothing wrong with matter of fact, conflict shows that the organization is alive. If there's no conflict, it means that everyone just gave up. Go home to mom and dad, and what I mean. I remember when Prabhupada left this world, I just thought that was it. Okay, leave the brahmacharya ashram, go home, go back to college, because what now? What? I literally for the first 2 or 3 days, that's what I thought. Because I just, I thought it was all over. But anyway, it wasn't. Luckily, we're all here. Yeah. Yes, Mataji. You have a microphone? Yeah.
Conflict, you asked for Vitanda and Jalpa?
Yes.
Yeah. So the dictionary definition is, Jalpa is playful conversations.
Oh, I don't think that's the way Vishwanath Chakravarti. Yeah, okay.
And Vitanda is counter arguments.
Counter. Well, let's someone look up the purport to 1032.
Look on the chat, I posted it the right way.
This is from Bhagavatam.
Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, verse 32. Yeah. Yes, Maharaj.
I think whatever he was talking, this was philosophical conflicts. How it will fit in the reasons of conflict. Just like we have a conflict about Guru issue. So what category it will be? Is it philosophical? Or
It may have to be another one. Let me think.
Yes.
Good question, Maharaj. Because that's kind of what he was asking, right?
Yes, yeah. And
I got distracted. Sorry about that.
Our society is divided because of that.
Well, the first thing I would say is have respectful dialogue. Discuss it respectfully. A lot is improved by doing that. Give me a second here. And there we go. Well, okay, it should pop up again. Oh, yeah. Well, part of it could be information, right? Quoting Shastra and quoting, right?
It's not information, it's a philosophy, bro. That Prabhupada is the only Diksha Guru. It's a philosophy.
Right, but it's based on...
Whether a female should become Diksha Guru or not, it's all philosophical aspects.
Right, but people base it, when they say it, they don't just say, I think, women should be gurus, they shouldn't be gurus. They say, they quote this, they quote that, which is information in one sense.
Oh, information from Shastra, yeah.
Yeah, information from Shastra. But I would say that often it does, values might come into play. Now, we wouldn't go into the whole thing about Ritvikism or something like that. But, and certainly I would say if we talk about ladies being gurus, Diksha gurus, yeah. Ladies being Diksha gurus. We see that there's often a divide culturally, not exclusively, but to some extent. And that would be values.
So there is a debate also. Is it a cultural issue? Is it a philosophical issue?
Yeah, or is it a kitri?
Yeah.
Is it both?
Yes.
Yeah. And that's why, okay, so Maharaj, if it, let's say it is both, that's why respectful dialogue is so important. To be able to talk about, analytically, instead of getting emotional about it, analytically say, okay, well, this part is Shastra, and Shastra says this, Prabhupada said this, Prabhupada also said that, and culturally this and that. But, it's just that my experience doing this for 23 years, not specifically about that issue, but in general, is that when there's a respectful Vaishnava discussion, Krishna is pleased, and something auspicious comes about. Is that okay? Yeah. All right.
Prabhu, how about expectations? Where did that fit in? Setting
Expectations.
unrealistic.
Expectations is one of the other main causes of conflict. For example, let's say someone joins ISKCON. Well, first of all, that's okay. You're allowed to have a ring. You're allowed to keep your ringtone on if you have a cow ringtone. If it goes, then it's okay. Otherwise, nothing. So expectations, yes, are a big cause of conflict. For example, what if someone joins ISKCON and their expectation is everyone has 4 arms, there's no problems, flowers are going to fall from the sky at every moment, and everyone's a pure devotee. Right? That might cause some problems, right? Everyone in saffron has to block your ears for this, but if people get married and they don't talk about, well, how many children should we have? Who's in charge of the money? Things like that. You don't clarify that ahead of time. You can have huge, what if one says, I don't want to have any children, and the other one says, I want to have 4. What do or I want to have 3, you're going to have 1.5? Right? So, or brahmacharis joining the ashram. We didn't know what was going on in the 70s. We just joined, Ram Ram, hope for the best. Now, like I heard here, they have a place for parents of devotees to stay and all the amazing things. We didn't quite have that in the 70s. So, but yes, clarifying expectations is a very important thing. Yeah. We have 1 more minute. Anyone who hasn't asked a question yet? Okay, Mataji, your last question.
It's not a question.
Comment.
No, it's not a comment either. You asked to look up 10.32.
Oh yeah, 10.32. Yes.
Yeah, that says supporting one's argument with evidence that also supports the opposite side is called jalpa.
Okay, jalpa. Okay.
And sorry.
And vitanda.
1 second, Prabhu. Okay. Then merely trying to defeat one's opponent is called vitanda.
Merely trying to defeat one's opponent. That's all you care about. Whether you're right or wrong, that doesn't matter that much.
Yeah. But the actual conclusion is called vada.
The actual conclusion, yeah. Okay, so we take a break for an hour? How long's the break? Okay, 20-minute break, Hare Krishna, to settle. And I said it's both. But the mediator always gives credit. I like this saying that you can be a good mediator or you can take credit from being a good mediator, but you can't have both. Right? So it is good. That's why we have training for our mediators. Prabhuji just finished the training recently. But it's also, ultimately, it's up to the parties. If they're really not willing to settle, what can you do? So that was that. And here's another interesting thing, because it's come up with Maharaj bringing up, the point about Ritvix and this and that. We tend to have more intense conflicts the closer we are with the other, let's say, organization. Like with the Ritvix, we're 98% we're all in agreement. So there's that huge focus on that 2% or whatever. Maybe some people say it's 20%, because Diksha is such an important thing. But whatever that is, we tend to focus on that. if anyone is old enough to remember when there was challenges with His Holiness Narayan Maharaj. I mean, philosophically, we're like, 98% on the same page. He reads Bhagavad Gita, we read Bhagavatam, CC, right? But we would focus on that 2%. Right? We're much more, let's say, in conflict with that group than with the Nimbarka Sampradaya, for example, right? Yes. Because we're just like, don't have so much interaction and a lot more differences. But when it's, or what to speak of in a family. Do families ever have conflicts? I think I told you I worked a lot with the Indian court system. I couldn't believe so many conflicts about partition, right? Brother and sister, brother and brother fighting like anything, not talking to each other after they grew up with each other, or and all kinds of things. But especially in the Indian court system is just full of family stuff, right? Because you're close, So, something to keep in mind that we tend to do that. And the other thing is, as distasteful as conflict is, we shouldn't be surprised. It literally is Kali Yuga. Sometimes we joke, "Oh, Prabhu, it's Kali Yuga, Haribol," right? Or we quote, "Pralayana Parisa Sabya Kulovasman." We quote some shlokas, right? But it really is Kali Yuga. I mean. And Kali Yuga has a big influence on people. It's hard to imagine what Treta or Satya, where people got along with each other. And especially now, like in America, right, you just see it. It's just like conflict every single day, right? If you look at the news, and it's prevalent. Kali Yuga really, so, we should not be surprised when there's conflicts. We should be surprised when we get along with each other. In one sense, right? Just because Kali Yuga is that powerful. Okay, that was my 20-minute break meditations. So let's talk a little bit about emotions. And, we know what Arjuna is trying to get off the hook. He says, "Oh, Krishna, come on, it's so hard. It's so hard." And, we were all hoping Krishna would say, "Yeah, that's okay. Don't worry about it." He didn't say that, right? He says by abhyas and vairagya, you can be successful. And, the Advanti Brahmana, there's such a beautiful part of these 16 verses. These people are not the cause of my happiness and distress. Neither are the demigods, my own body, the planets, my past work, or time. Rather, it is the mind alone that causes happiness and distress and perpetuates rotation of material life. All the senses, I'm not quoting every verse, just a few of them. All the senses have been under the control of the mind since time immemorial, and the mind himself never comes under the sway of any other. He is stronger than the strongest, and his godlike powers are fearsome. Therefore, anyone who can bring the mind under control becomes the master of all the senses. Failing to conquer the irrepressible enemy, the mind, whose urges are intolerable and who torments the heart, many people are completely bewildered and create, listen to this, useless quarrels with others. Have you ever seen that? Thus, they conclude that other people are either their friends, their enemies, or parties indifferent to them. If someone bites his tongue with his own teeth, at whom can he become angry in his suffering? So in other words, we say, "Oh, it's the Ritviks, or it's the demigods, or it's my karma," and the Advantis Brahmana's realization, which is so powerful, right? I mean, sannyasis know the verse because they say it every day, 3 times, right? Such power. So when we're dealing with people in conflict, we don't want to say, "Prabhu, you're in Maya," but we should know they're in Maya. I mean, let me rephrase it. Usually, people, to some extent, are listening to their mind, which is okay. We understand. Again, it's not a criticism; it just is. And look how powerful the mind is, right? Udaret atmanatmanam natmanam visadyat. Right? It can be your Vipur, your Bandur, but it's usually the Vipur. It's usually the enemy. And this is just something to be aware of. This is kind of what we're dealing with when we're dealing with people in conflict. They're listening to their mind. They're not practicing self-realization. Obviously, but it's just good to know. Irrepressible enemy, stronger than the strongest, godlike power. Right? The mind is so powerful. It's such a, and we know the only real cure, I mean, we could say several, but especially trying to chant attentively. Trying to chant attentively, the only hope. But regardless of that, my point here is just that we're dealing with people who have, including ourselves maybe, even as the person who's trying to help them, right? The mind. And it's such a, we're talking about catching ourselves when we're making assumptions, catching ourselves, what were some of the other things we said, catching ourselves? Oh yeah, that's right, interpreting and evaluating, thank you, Prabhu. Sometimes when I get a little brain fog, it's because of the stroke I had. Sometimes I just can't remember a few things, so thank you. If I get like that, please help me, like you did, thank you. It's just, it's just, I like to read the teaching of the Advanti Brahmanas' realizations, right? Because they're very insightful, and and the mind is taking us here and there all the time. And certainly, like we said before, we have the Acharya Kamsa, who just couldn't get Krishna out of his mind, right? Right? And we can sometimes be like that. We get into an issue or something, and it's just like, instead of thinking of the lotus feet of Krishna, instead of thinking that this is my mind catching hold of this, it's not the full reality. And we often don't. Do I have it here? I just want to skip to it and then come back. No. Does anyone know the serenity prayer? God, grant me first the serenity. Close enough. Yeah. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I can't change. What's the next word? The courage to change the things I can.
And the wisdom to know the difference.
That came from the... Was that Mother Durga or Parvati? Yes. And the Akashvani said, the wisdom to know the difference. Yeah, right. All pervasive, Govinda Priya Devi, Mataji. Yes. And so that's even something for us to think, let's say we're thinking about Ritvikism, just because some devotees came. So what are the things that we can't change about that in our day-to-day lives? And are there anything that we can? And if the things that we can't, why do we let our mind get totally occupied with that instead of thinking of Krishna? If there are some things that we have influence over, then we should act in that, right? But it's a very nice, it's not, exactly in our line of acharyas, but it's a very nice point. And I'm sure if I thought about it, or any of us thought about it, we could probably find some places in the Bhagavatam that correspond with that thought. So this is sometimes how emotions work, that, we get triggered, and when we're up here, very emotional, the green is sattvic, clear thinking, and you can see how that, and I'm sure, has anyone had that experience? Yeah, you get very emotional about something, and all of a sudden, your ability to reason is washed away, right? So it's something to, and advertisers know about this, right? They try to grab your emotionally so you don't think about how much money you're spending and you'll buy the thing, right? Yeah. So something to just keep in mind about emotion. Whoops. Oh, what'd I do? I pressed something wrong. So here's a question for you. What works for you When you find yourself, when you see Rajas and Tamas are kind of like going at your mind and you're getting agitated or something, what works for you to chill out? Just think about it for 10 seconds. What, everyone was chanting Hare Krishna. Maybe that's for everyone, but there may be other things also. So what works for you individually? You don't have to say this to the public, right? But what works for you? Take 10 seconds to think about that. Okay. And you have 4 minutes at your table. Talk about this. What works for you?
Say it again. On the plate.
Music? Like Bollywood music?
Okay, so this is
Oh, not Bollywood. Not Bollywood. Oh, just checking.
what counts I go to
Me, what I do is obviously I also
For me, I just can't comment down until I actually address the issue. You have to fix it, otherwise I can't.
faced with this challenge. These guys,
I need to address it. Can't really be peaceful in this place. It's just how I am. Have to address it.
like you said, yeah, we take a walk, and thinking, how will Srila
I'm just being honest.
Thank you. Because how Prabhupada was thrown so
It'll take months sometimes. But the good thing is I have quite a good amount of ADHD in my brain, so I can actually keep doing other things.
Yeah, but still
there.
There you go. We're just talking about calming yourself, not calming other people. I should have made that clear. You're done. Okay. If you're done, 1 more minute. All the same thing? Okay. Uh-huh.
What is that?
Yeah.
I have body of people around.
Okay, so talking to others works for you. Okay. Okay, Hare Krishna. So, I don't know, we're not going to hear from every table, just what they call popcorn, just like anyone's like to say what came up in your group? Are you all pure devotees and it's just Bhagavatam and Mahamantra Bas? Yes? Wait, I can't hear you because the microphone. We'll have to have a seminar in mic use. Yeah, very good.
Just pause, take a walk.
Take a walk?
Yeah, somebody said breathing.
Beating?
Breathing, deep breathing.
Beating? The other brahmachari or your husband or breathing.
Spend time with nature.
Time
talk
in nature.
to mentor. Chanting. Go quiet. And Brajapati Prabhu said, take a pause. Put Prabhupada's picture and think about how to please Prabhupada.
Nice. Very good. Thank you. Who else? Another group? Yes, Mataji? You have the microphone?
Yes. In our group, we shared about if we have a good friend, well-wishing, whom we can share.
Okay, talking to a friend, yeah.
And express all that feelings that comes out, and without being judgmental, that person is ready to hear it.
Oh, not judgmental. That's an interesting one. Okay.
And another devotee said going on nature walks, and we agree with all the other things that they shared.
Now, nobody here mentions the Bhagavatam or Krishna. What's going on? No. Yes?
Yeah. Lay down and hear Srila Prabhupada lecture.
Oh, really? Lay down. Okay.
Hear Srila Prabhupada chanting.
Uh-huh.
and remember the consequences. If I don't get calm, then that devotee might leave.
The consequence of Rajas and Tamas. Yeah.
Divert the mind to other topic. And someone also said take pills of blood pressure.
Okay.
So,
we have one honest person. Yes.
We have a doctor here.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
We have a doctor here.
One of my friends said,
Yeah, you have a doctor, yeah.
one of my friends said that I just go to sleep and wait for pralaya. wait
Take
things
rest.
will go
Wait
down.
for pralaya.
Things will
That's a
somehow.
long time. Okay, all right. Very good. One or two more, and then we should get going. But I just want us to get, it's something to just know what works for us individually. And that might be different than the person next to you. Even, the brahmachari next to you in the ashram, it might be a little different. We're individuals. Okay, two more. One, two.
Okay. It depends on the type of interaction.
Of course.
Is it a face-to-face or is it telephonically? So depending on if it's face-to-face, we said what other groups mentioned, chanting, walking, praying to Srila Prabhupada. And then, of course, I don't want to go into the other aspects.
And if it's virtual, you should write nasty emails to them?
No.
Oh, okay.
I think that's about it from our group.
All right.
Thanks. Haribol.
Yeah, three thought processes, came up in our discussion. One is that they will consult the superior.
Okay, consult
ask for the guidance.
Right.
This is number one. Number two, that vent out the feelings.
Vent.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So that actually will relieve one. And another point was turn back, and then count 10 numbers, and then deal with the situation.
Very good. Okay.
Another one was keeping Krishna in the center.
Yeah.
He was quoting Brahma Samhita 5.1, and then
Ishvara Paramakrishna.
Yeah, that is working for the devotee and his.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, very good. So, just because Bhagavad Gita says Sattva Sanjayate Jnanam, right? And we all know things seem so much clearer when we're in goodness. What to speak of when we're remembering Krishna, right? So, these are just some ideas. If you're calming other people down, like some people said, allow them to vent, validate what they say, take a break, sometimes distract them from whatever their mind is on. Someone mentioned that already. Acknowledge what they're going through, apologize if that's the connection. We're not going to get into a lot of details, but there is a science to apologies. Right? Can anyone say what's a terrible apology? If you feel offended, I apologize. Is that what you're going to say? Yeah. If you're offended, I apologize. Yeah. It's not the best one. And like I said, I'm going to give you these PowerPoints if you need them. But you don't need to do all 7 steps. But defining what you did wrong, acknowledging how it may have caused harm, taking responsibility for it, not making 10 excuses. Recognizing the wrongdoing, statement of regret, and here number 6 is the most, sometimes at least in a play with somebody you're going to be interacting in the future, like someone else in the ashram or a family member, what you're going to do in the future. You're not going to. Next time I will not do this. I will do that instead. That's really important. And then number 7, you have to be really careful about an explanation of why you acted in that way, because that can come out as minimizing. It can work, it depends. The point, I'm just going to, we could spend an hour on apologies, but the point is they can be powerful if they're done properly. Can anyone think of an apology in the Bhagavatam, or the CC, or Prabhupada's books, or the Shastra? What was that? Okay, Mother Sachi apologizing.
Indra apologizing to Krishna.
Indra apologizing, he was like, he went to Lord Brahma, right? And he said, I really blew it. I tried to, ruin Vrindavan. I tried to kill the Brijbasis. And Brahma said, listen, you did much worse than I did. So good luck. Right? And then he said, you better bring Sarabi with you and all that. But yes, he did apologize. Lord Brahma apologizing to Krishna, yeah. So there's a number of them, but they have to be done sincerely to be powerful. Like, well, if you're offended, then I'm sorry. But really, why it happened was because you got it wrong, and you really messed up, and I'm really upset with you, and I'm sorry that you didn't see that. That's not a very right, yeah. Okay, so this is really important. There's only 5 ways to deal with a conflict. There's only 5 ways. Okay, so we're going to study those 5 ways. Okay, so think about a situation that causes you tension or conflict, you personally. Okay, and we're not going to do a poll, but I just want you to listen to these 5 statements and see which one is the way you've been dealing with that conflict. You tend to do what you can to get the solution or decision that you think is best. That would be A. B would be tend to get around or delay engaging the issue. Just put it off. Bagme, right? I tend to work with others to find the solution satisfactory to everyone. We sit down and we try to work it out. I tend to let other people get what they want. Or I compromise. I tend to find a solution that gets me and the other person, what they want, a little bit of what they want, and a little bit of what I want. So in the situation that's on your mind, just think about which one you do. Or in general, which one or 2 of these is the way you usually deal with conflict. No, I'm not asking you. You just tell yourself. And there are A, B, and C, D, and E. So there's no 1, 2, 3. Okay. So just think about that. What is your nature, your tendency? Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, but is it all 5 or just maybe 2 that are the prominent ones? Okay, 3 of them. You get special credit, extra credit. Okay, so just get that in your mind as we're going through these 5. Okay, so these are the 5. There's only really 5 ways to deal with a conflict. You avoid it. This direction, we say cooperation, but it's also the importance of the relationship. Okay, so you let the other person get their way. That's accommodating. This is the importance of getting the work done. Relationships and, getting the outcome that you want, okay? So sometimes we don't care so much about the relationship. We just say, I got to get it my way. My way or the highway. Yeah, you know everything, right? And then sometimes we just want to do something quickly. We go, okay, cut it in half, finish bus. And sometimes we sit down and we work things out so that the work gets done and the relationship improves. Now, which one is best? None of them. They're all good in some situations and not good in other situations. All desha kala, all time, place, and circumstance. Okay? Let's talk about each one. Okay? So avoiding. Avoiding can be good. Have you ever been in kind of a conflict with somebody and you just decide to take rest, think about it the next day, and the next day just doesn't seem to be such a big deal? That ever happened? Yeah, sometimes it just kind of, because sometimes the mind, especially at night, makes a mountain out of an anthill. Because the mind, I don't know if you've ever had that experience also. So sometimes avoiding can be good. It's just like, it's not worth it. But sometimes it's bad. Like I'll often get a complaint, we complained to the temple president, he hasn't done anything about it. And that person still, disrupts the ashram, he goes to bed late, he gets up late, and he's just a bad example for everyone. And the temple president isn't doing anything about it. Now, maybe the temple president did, but sometimes avoiding can be bad. Something needs to be done, and you just, the ostrich, the hunter is going after him and puts his neck in the sand. Hunter's gone. So is avoiding good or bad? It depends on the situation. Okay? The next one, accommodating. Right? So, in some ways we're trained to accommodate, especially as, let's say, a brahmachari moving in the ashram, they're basically said, you do what you're told to do. Is that right? Right? This is brahmachari life. And one time I asked a Christian monk, how do they train new monks? And he said, until they're 30, strict discipline. And after 30, you start letting them use their maturity to make decisions on their own. But anyway, accommodating, letting the other person get their way. And that can be good sometimes, right? Especially, in training in an ashram or even in a grihastha situation, sometimes that can be good. Sometimes it could be bad. When there was the famous, or I don't know how many famous ISKCON history, but when there was a lady in the New York temple who claimed to be the heiress of Toyota. Anyone know this story? Yeah, right? Yeah, you've heard that story. Okay. And Prabhupada was not upset with the young devotees in the temple. He was upset with the leaders for not doing something, for just accommodating, right? So accommodating, it can be good. It's good for relationships. Like I was in Mayapur a couple of years ago, and I saw a devotee that I did Sankirtan with 40 years ago, traveling Sankirtan, living in a van together as brahmacharis. And it was so nice to see him. And I was really looking forward to having a real, authentic Bengali meal, sukta, and the whole thing, right? Sorry to bring up prasadam before lunch, but and he was really keen. He said, I heard Govinda's has great pizza. So I said, yeah, let's go for pizza. Because the relationship was much more important than the shukta, right? Right? So I just accommodated. But sometimes accommodating cannot be good. When we really think somebody's doing something wrong, we just go ram ram. Right? Again, it's especially in a leadership position. So is it good or bad? It depends. Competing is, kind of my way or the highway, right? But, it can be very good. I'm the leader. I have a vision. This is what we have to do. Let's do it. Right? Or there may not be time. Something needs to be done urgently, and you can't be all buddy-buddy and say, yes, I heard you're from Mauritius. Very nice. Hari Bol Prabhu. Yeah, Mauritius is a very nice place. Weather is so good. Go get off your backside and go do that. We got to hurry up, right? But if the only thing you do is compete, you probably don't have too many friends either after a while. So is it good or is it bad? It depends. Then there's the story of the orange. And you may have heard the story of the orange, but I'll say it again. There's one orange left in the house, and the brother and the sister come into the kitchen and they fight over the orange. I want the orange, they're fighting over the orange. So what does a good parent do? Cut it in half, cut it in half, right? You get it, finish bus, right? Took 3 seconds. But if she would have asked, why do you want the orange? Right? And the son says, I'm catching a cold and I need the vitamin C. Or my wife's from Ireland, they say vitamin C. Right? So, right? And the daughter is making a cake, and you take this grate and you grate the outside, the peel of the orange, and you put that in the cake mix. So if we could have asked why, both could have gotten 100% instead of 50-50. Okay? Yeah. So that's the difference between, we'll get to it in a second. Well, where to go? Oh yeah, well I'm going to skip it. Whoops, sorry about that. That was my... Between collaborating is why do you want the orange, and compromise is, quick, cut in half. So compromise is good because it's quick, right? You both want to dress Radhe Shyam on Janmashtami. Okay, you do it this year, you do it next year, finish bus. Took 10 seconds, compromise, right? It's easy. Collaboration, sitting down and asking, well, what do you need? What do I need? Let's work something out. That takes some time. So it's great. And of course, that's in ISKCON Resolve, that's our main focus. But not everything is appropriate for that. You know, like there's in America, sorry to use American examples too much, but there was a woman named Rosa Parks, and she's black-bodied. And in America in the 1950s, black people had to sit in the back of the bus. Right? So she got on the bus, and she refused to sit in the back. She was exhausted from work, and she got in a whole fight with the bus driver. And it finally went to court, and you know it helped a lot. It was the case that started equal rights for black and white people in America. Right? It was the impetus for that. So if she would have just, you know, sat down with the bus driver and worked something out, or compromised and you know just said, well, I'll sit in the middle of the bus, it might have hurt the civil rights movement for many years. So it's not everything should be collaborated, but a lot of things should be, especially the big things. So that's the difference between collaboration and let's what's going on? Sorry, this is there we go. So this is okay. I said these 5 things was really important. This is really, really important, okay? If you walk away with just this slide for the whole day, I'll be feeling, wow, that was fantastic, okay? The difference between positions and interests. Positions is what we say we want. Interest is why we want it, okay? Is what we say we want, our claim or our demand. Right? When I bring up controversy in ISKCON, we're not going to talk about the controversy just because it, you know, I want women Diksha gurus, or I don't want women Diksha gurus. That's your position. Why? That's your interest. So, I want the orange. Positions, right? And you can't collaborate. You can't sit down and work things out. Why do you want the orange? Now we can talk. Right? So I have these words here because often if you ask enough questions, you get down to some of the real basic things like, well, I want to please Srila Prabhupada, or I want to feel understood, or I want things to be fair. Right? Sometimes it comes down to this. We're going to see a video a little later that gives, but asking and finding out the why, the hopes, the wants, the fears, the needs, then you can collaborate. Then you can sit down. But position, the best you can do really is compromise. Because it's just, you're not actually getting to the real reasons underneath something. Right? And almost for every position, there's an interest. There's too much spicy food here. That's my position. My position is they have to stop cooking with so much chili. What's my interest? Maybe health? Anything else it could be? I'm craving for Jewish food? Okay. New York food, maybe. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So when I just say, well, you know, who does he think he is, right? But if you say, oh, this is bad for your health. You see how, you know, if it's just like, you know, there's just too much damn spices in this food. That's one thing. But you find out, I have a stomach ulcer, and this is, really, I can't sleep at night because of this. That changes the discussion, doesn't it? If you're a compassionate person. Yeah? So thinking about interest. So for me, after doing this for 25 years, Whenever I hear somebody say something, I say, I wonder why they want that. And just immediately start thinking, I wonder what their interest is. Right? If somebody says, oh, I don't want this GBC in our zone, I want that GBC. Okay, that's interesting. Wouldn't it be good to know what his or her interest is in that discussion? One's a nicer authority, yeah? Okay. Could be one lets you do whatever you want. Could be, right? Right? Could be one doesn't speak the local language, right? So there could be, the point is you don't know until you're curious, not judgmental. Remember curious? Curiosity is great, right? Who attained perfection by curiosity? Shaunika Rishi, right? Yeah, Shaunika. There's one purport. I'm sorry, a Western mindset, right? There's one purport that begins Shaunika and the Rishis. And I was always thinking that would be the name of a good music band. Shaunika and the Rishis. But anyway. Sorry about that. A little distraction there. Yeah, Shaunika, right? Because Arto Jigyasa Artarti Gani, right? So Jigyasur. It actually says that if the Arta and the Artarti have to become at least Jigyasur to make more advancement. Right? So being curious, being inquisitive, and finding out what's underneath it all. Right? Let's say it was the language. And let's say the first GBC said, well, what if I take a 6-month immersion course in that language and learn it, at least enough to talk to the devotees. Okay, well that might have, then you don't need, but if you don't know why somebody wants something, so this is so important. That's why I just want to emphasize this difference between what we say we want or need and why we want it. Okay. And here's some possible interests. These are just, because we were talking about what's underneath the iceberg, right? So, these are some possibility. Being cared for, being respected, being trusted, feeling some affection, feeling some appreciation, a facility for good sadhana, being encouraged, having a harmonious, peaceful mode of goodness life, association and guidance from senior. Well, these are just some ideas of what might be some of our needs. Right? Oh, and that's my messed up, there we go. Okay, so that we talked about collaborating and compromising. So these are the 5. And what I find, and for many of the leaders that I've trained over the years, they print out this one slide, they have it on their desk. It only takes about 30 seconds to a minute in any conflict. Go through these 5 and see which one you think is probably the best way to deal with it. Because what we usually do, remember we took that test in the beginning? We usually have 1 or 2 that is our default, are the general way we deal with something. And sometimes we don't consider the other ways, whereas the other ways may be better in that particular situation. It only takes us a few seconds really to go through this and think of which one might be best. But there's no 6th way. There may be some blending of the 2, but there's these 5 ways to deal with a conflict. Isn't that amazing? Yeah. It's just 5 ways. So you can think about it, think about situations, and you can even look historically at things and say, well, did that work? When we did that, maybe we should have done that instead. Right? You can learn from our mistakes. So this was I think you can figure this out, but this was, if you picked A, that means, you tend to compete. If you picked B, it was avoid. C, collaborate. D, accommodate. And E, compromise. Yeah. And it's just good to know what is our tendency, our nature. Gayatri break. Yeah. At like 5 o'clock this evening, you mean? This Gayatri. Well, when would you like to do it? Well, let me see what the next slide is then. This is the right Muhurta thing? Right, is that right? Does anyone have their phone with the, I have it on my phone. What's that app called? GCal, yeah, it's a good app, right? Okay, let me just see. Okay, so you have to pick your strategy. Okay, why don't we do this, see if there's any questions or comments, and then we'll take a Gayatri break. Okay? Yes, Maharaj, Prabhu. Maybe that was future prediction.
Can you correlate with some scriptural, any verses or something? Like they say that Sam, Dam, Dand, Ved.
Oh, yeah, they could. Yeah,
So if we can relate with
Chanakya.
some. But these five, they are five. I was trying to fit that four in this.
Have you had any success?
No.
No? Okay, well, at least
It
you're
was a
honest.
mental procedure. I was going on with it, but I was thinking that this collaboration will go with this. But so
Yeah, well, Chanakya, of course, he wasn't a devotee, but Prabhupada would still like to quote him sometimes for moral reasons, right? So, I don't know. Let's think about this together. Everyone knows Sam. Go ahead, Sam, Dam. The Danda is definitely competing, right? Right? Is that clear? Danda is competing. What's that? Sama could be accommodating. Okay. What's the next one? Dam means money. Okay, compromising. Okay, and then the third one is Veda means. Oh, creating. Yeah. Well, he wasn't necessarily a conflict resolution expert. But he was a great politician, right? So I'm not sure they all fit in, but maybe half of them at least like that. But we can see, and let's see if we can think of some Shastric references. I mean, yes? You have a microphone?
Digvijay Pandit example, Rupa and Sanatan Goswami avoided.
Yes,
And
good.
Jiva Goswami
Okay, let's
competed.
slow down for a second. Rupa and Sanatan, they avoided, right? He said, yeah, we'll sign whatever you want. Very good, okay.
And then Jiva Goswami competed with them.
He competed, yes, he definitely. Very good example, yeah. The five Pandavas did all five of these? Is that what you were comparing them to? No, I don't know about it. That may be a stretch. But you can see Yudhisthira was different than Bhima. Bhima was definitely kind of into competing, right? Yudhisthira, did he avoid sometimes or collaborate? There was what about the time when they caught Ashwatthama and
Compromise.
Bhima was saying one thing and Draupadi was saying another and
Compromise.
That was a compromise? Okay, yeah. So he killed him and didn't kill him? Right. Same with, there were, I would say it's a good example of compromise / collaborate, right? Because Krishna was hearing everything and then, came up with a way forward. Yeah. Vidura just left. It's the same with Balaram, right? He just, I'm out of here, as
And
they say,
then-
right? Just took off. Very good example. So good examples of avoiding, right? Balaram and Vidura.
And then when Durvasa Muni came, accommodating, went to Draupadi, Krishna.
Okay. And it's so interesting. Vidura, see, this is a good example. Then we'll do Gayatri. Vidura avoided when he just left his bow at the door and just left, right? Went on pilgrimage. But then, I don't know, what would you call it? Would you call it competing when he started telling Dhritarashtra, your teeth are falling out, your liver's defective, you wasted your life, you're a household dog eating the remnants of food offered by Bhima? I mean, that's some of the heaviest preaching in the Bhagavatam, isn't it? I mean, out of compassion, and it worked, right? So maybe that was competing, but competing can work. There's nothing wrong with competing when it's done well. But he was definitely, he didn't just say, oh, my dear Dhritarashtra, what do you think we should do? Right? He said, get out immediately. Right? Good. Okay. Yes, Maharaj. Microphone for Maharaj.
So, when you commit Vaishnava Aparad, means if you hear Vaishnava Aparad, there are three options given. So
That's very good.
So, either you should talk, give argument if you have Vamana, defeat him by philosophical argument. If you are a Kshatriya, get him. And in Kali Yuga, Prabhupada said, best is leave the place.
Leave the place, yes.
Avoiding.
Yeah.
So competing, avoiding, and maybe that was maybe collaborating.
Well, thank you for that, Maharaj. And I'll leave you on this note, and then we'll chant Gayatri. Do you guys do the 20-minute Gayatris, or you like... Okay, just checking to see. The 20 minutes are when you fall asleep halfway through. Oh no! Now did I forget what I was going to say? That's the what I found has been such a saving grace for me over the years is one statement from Prabhupada. I think he was talking about his god brothers, but I apply it to so many different situations. And when he said, respect from a distance. So don't commit Vaishnava Aparad, but also don't have to intimately, but just... So, if there's a devotee that just sees the world totally differently than you and you can't, Hare Krishna, and you just respect them, but from a distance. And I found it really saved me many times remembering that instruction, respect from a distance. On that note, now it is time to meditate on Guru, Gauranga, and Krishna. He said, usually he covered. That's what he told me. But I will put a word here, because somebody just asked me a question. What happens if you deal with a really unreasonable person? Anyone know such a person? I'm the only one. You don't know anyone who's not reasonable? All right. BIFF. Especially in an email. You ever get, I don't know if, maybe it's my profession, but do you ever get those emails that, it's 50 people or 100 people are copied, and it's a size of a book, the email, right? So when you're dealing, you probably can't see that so well, right? BIFF, it means brief, informative, friendly, and firm. So they write a long, long thing, and you say, dear Prabhu, I just want you to know that other people have different opinions about this, and I will not be replying anymore to your emails. I wish you all the best. Hare Krishna. Brief, informative, friendly, and firm. There's a book by that title, but the idea is, if somebody really has mental health issues, and a large percentage of the world has mental health issues, it's no joke. It's no joke. You break your arm, you have that kind of issue, you have something wrong with your head. So, and you just know, does anyone know what quicksand is? The more you try to get out of it, so sometimes dealing with such a person is like quicksand, right? So brief, informative, friendly, firm. When do you tolerate? Well, I'm not a mental health professional, but when I think this person is above my skills to help, then I say, Hare Krishna. Respect from a distance. And that's one way to do it. Brief, informative, friendly, and firm. You don't want to say, okay, but in the future, if you have any problems, please contact me. No! Do you want to hear from that person again? Because it's not helping them. I'm not trying to make fun of people. It's actually not helping them either to just get into this cycle. You have a microphone? Bless you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes.
Sometimes in that orange example, both the kids are wanting the full orange themselves.
Yes.
And just not ready to compromise at all. Like in Prabhupada quotes this story also, the king giving the cow of a brahmana to another brahmana, and both of them becoming really upset at the end, and king actually had to suffer at the end.
Yeah.
So that happens sometimes as a leader, and what is a good course of action, because it doesn't really fit into any of these.
Well, those brahmanas weren't being very reasonable, were they? Is that right in that story?
Yeah.
I would have written them an email with, I will not be dealing with either of you two. Work out the cow thing. I'm out of here. I'm going to go take prasadam. What your question was, though?
So the leader is anyway implicated either ways, So that's what he did. I mean, they both walked away, but the leader was implicated. He was reborn as a lizard or something in the next life.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good reason not to be a leader. Except the fact that when for us, we have to balance that with taking responsibility on behalf of Srila Prabhupada and how much mercy one gets by taking on those headaches. I remember I was telling you, I just read that. I'll just read it really quickly. It was so sweet. It was sent to me today. Just the last part. This is, at a certain point, Prabhupada's mood seemed to change. He told the devotees, as long as we are in the material world, there will always be problems. But if we focus too much on the problems, we will forget our real business, which is to become Krishna conscious. Instead of thinking and talking about Krishna, we will think and talk about problems. Then Prabhupada spoke about himself, how much he had endured to spread Krishna consciousness. He had suffered 2 heart attacks at sea on the way to America, and in America he had a buzzing in his ears and terrible headaches. Prabhupada said, I do not wish even to tell you how much I suffered, but I never complained. My principle was always, everything for Krishna, nothing for me. And because that was my principle, I never had any complaint. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Yeah. So, yeah, we have to, it's amazing how much blessings one gets by taking on responsibilities for Srila Prabhupada. And ultimately, if we become a lizard, Ram Ram. But if Prabhupada's pleased with us, not that, I'm not saying we should all pray for lizard births. Okay, just a few points about negotiation, because negotiation, again, could be a 5-day course. But these are 2 really important points, and I hope that they're clear. There's something called watna. The worst alternative to a negotiated agreement means, what's the worst that could happen if we don't sit down and try to collaborate? Remember collaboration? If we don't sit down and try to work this out, what's the worst that could happen? And then badna is what's the best that could happen. Okay, now there's an explanation in the next slide. So if you choose not to pursue negotiation, sitting down and talking with the other party, somebody else trying to call. Hare Krishna. I'll have to call him later, even though that's my Guru Maharaj. Ram Ram. Oops, software update. We don't need that either, right? Skip. Okay, whoops. That's the other thing, Okay. So the best alternative, what is the best outcome that I can expect if I don't work this out with this devotee? And what's the worst? The main one is the watna. That's really powerful. I'll give a financial example that I like to give. Anyone here ever been to Alaska? Okay, one person. It's a huge place. I would say it's probably the size of India. Or maybe even bigger, with very little population. Like less than 1 million people, I think, maybe. Can you imagine? Size of India with 1 million people, right? So if a person wants to buy a Toyota car, there's one Toyota dealer in all of Alaska. Right? So if they tell you a price, you don't really have a great BATNA. You don't really have a option. Now, if you're in New York or even Delhi, right, and there was maybe 10 Toyota dealers, right, you can go to one and they quote, whatever, 30 lakhs. And then when you go to the next one and they say 31 lakhs, you say, no, 29 or forget it. Because you have a BATNA. You have, if you don't negotiate, I can always go back and spend 30 lakhs, right? And so you can be quite strong. But the person in Alaska can't be. His worst alternative is to go like 1,000 miles away because you have to go through Canada to get to the other part of America to buy the car and then drive, So he has a very strong WATNA, worst alternative. So if the person says 31 lakhs or $31,000, basically has to say, okay, if he wants the car. Right? So a WATNA is like, okay, so in ISKCON terminology, someone comes to me and they say, temple president's like doing, temple president's doing that, temple president, I want to have a investigation. I say, okay, that's one option. But I'm thinking in terms of this, I'm just trying to help them make a clear decision. I said, yes, you can do that. What happens if the investigation shows that he was okay? What's going to happen? So I'm asking about his WATNA, right? I said, what about sitting down with him and talking, or sitting down with him with someone who's trained as a mediator and trying to work it out? You're going to get a handout this afternoon about investigations, by the way. We'll talk about them later. So I'm trying to help him think about possible WATNAs, possible things. So sometimes when people get, especially in the mode of passion, he's doing this, he's doing that, he's got to be punished, right? And often it's based on very little information, or it's based on third-hand information. By the way, that's one of the things we didn't mention earlier. One of the real great educations that we can help devotees is be very careful to trust anything you don't hear firsthand. Right? If you go to you go to me and say, well, yeah, Hare Krishna Das, he's really kind of spaced out, and I heard the devotees in Chopati really just would rather him, move to Pune, right? And then I'm thinking, instead of thinking, okay, when I see Hare Krishna, I'm going to right? Instead of thinking, okay, well, that's what somebody said, but who knows what filter, who he heard from, and what filter that came through. Remember, all of our filters, our purva samskars and our experiences and all those things, but we take it as like the truth. And I tell you, so many conflicts happen because people take third-hand information as the truth. So many conflicts. So many. So have a very healthy skepticism when you don't hear things firsthand. If it's somebody you really trust and you have that may that more likely, but in general, be careful. Be careful. So yes, so for me, sometimes I just find that I'm helping people think about their WATNAs. What's the worst alternative that could happen if they don't just sit down as Vaishnavas and try to work something out. Right? Because people often say, there's got to be an investigation. And so many times an investigation is much more nuanced. Maybe they'll say, yes, he did this wrong, but you did that wrong. Or, so many more things come out than just, I'm right and everyone else is wrong. Okay, a few more minutes, and then I have one other thing that I want to do before we take lunch. Oh, the power of questions. Should we get into that? We'll talk about the spirit. Any questions about WATNA, BATNA? It's clear as mud? Yes, Mataji. If you have your microphone, yes.
Can you give some examples of using Vatna and Bhatna? My understanding so far was that like you use it during mediation, sorry. But can you like give examples, more examples, how to use it?
Give me a minute. Besides the ones that I've already given. What's that? Okay, ask them. Anyone have a good example of a Vatna or a Bhatna? Because I realize let me give you a post-dated check on that, and we'll do it after lunch.
Okay, sure. Otherwise, I could give you a.
You have one.
I can give you a situation, and can you just like tell me
Okay,
how
give a
to use it?
situation.
The ladies' ashram leader and the men's ashram leader, they got into conflict for some university preaching program.
Okay.
And one wants the team to be in a certain way, and another one wants it in a certain way. And the ladies' ashram leader approaches me, and she's feeling very invalidated, etc., etc. So how do I use Vatna and
Well,
Bhatna?
if there are, and then you ask, are you willing to sit down and talk it with the other person?
No.
Why?
Because she's mad and angry.
Remember, I'm asking the interests.
Because she's mad and she's angry and all emotional about it.
She's mad and angry. What's causing the angry and madness?
Because she's feeling invalidated.
So she's not feeling respected.
That's right.
So respect is really important to her.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and what does she want to see happen?
A family move.
She won't sit down and talk it out. So what does she want to do instead?
She
of that?
wants just a respectful conversation where they all can.
Oh, okay.
align on
Well,
one
then
plan.
there's no Vatna because she's willing to negotiate. But if she were to say, no, I can't even look at his face, and I'm just not gonna do that.
Yeah.
Then I might say the Vatna would be, okay, so you don't want to sit down with them, and you really have a need for feeling respect. How are you going to get that need fulfilled?
Okay.
If you're not willing to sit down.
I see. Is Vatna more like using open-ended question?
Vatna is just what it is, trying to help them think of how they're going to get their needs met better than, is there a way that's better than just trying to work it out as Vaishnavas?
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay. Anything else on Vatna? I'll think more about examples at lunch. Yeah, especially if there's sukta. So let's just do, oh no, actually let's not push it. We'll talk about questions starting in after lunch. What I want you to do now is at your tables, talk about what you found to be the most helpful or interesting, insightful parts of all the things we covered this morning. Okay? That's your job at your tables. Talk about things that you remember this morning and that had an impact. Okay, Hare Krishna. So, I heard a lot of people going through, values, structure. Yeah. What else did you all discuss? What? Mike. Who's Mike? I know. Yes.
So we discussed about the mindset while assumption. That was,
mindset of assumptions.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, that's a very critical. Judging people and, instantly reacting to things, which is, I think that was a key thing.
Very good.
Which we think
yes.
we should reflect
Assumptions. Be aware when you're making them. Be aware when other people are making them.
And so we have a formula called ASSUME.
Ah, yes. You know that one? Does everyone know that one? Yes. Right, when you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. Yes. No, it's not a good one. Others, groups? Yes, way in the back.
So, Prabhuji, we discussed about the 5 strategies for dealing with
The
conflict.
5 strategies, yeah.
Specifically, we discussed about differentiation between collaborative and compromise approach. So we were discussing an example of like Arjun and Yudhishthir Maharaj.
Okay.
Like Yudhishthir told Arjun to put down your Gandiv.
And
he had taken a vow.
Yes.
So that was a win-win solution.
Yeah, that was a win-win
Yudhishthir Maharaj kept his life and Arjun kept his vow.
Very good. Yeah, they collaborated.
Yeah. Compromise is something where we both sustain some loss. So
Yeah.
this is the difference.
Right. They only got half the. Oh, and also, I forgot to mention, compromise can be the worst. It can be great because it's quick, right? You cut the order. But imagine somebody saying, I want to build a new temple in such and such city, and it'll cost 100 crores. And the other devotee is saying, no, we don't need a new temple. Book distribution is the main thing. We have preaching centers. It's much better that way. And somebody says, well, let's compromise. Let's build a temple for 50 crores. That might be the worst of the 3 decisions. You have a half-built temple. Right? So, because sometimes we think compromise, it seems so reasonable. But it can be good, but it can also be the worst decision. It depends. Okay? Thank you for that. Yes, so the 5 causes of conflict and assumptions. Others? Yes, Pooh, I know it's almost time, right? I have 1 more minute. Okay, 1, 2, and then we'll go for Prasadam. I'll tell you one thing while we're waiting to get the mic. I was once doing it, we once got a devotee's father who was a world expert in facilitation. And he was facilitating an education program. This was like in the 90s in Germany. And he said, there's one thing special about Hare Krishnas. And he said, what was that? He said, when it's time to eat, you'll stop everything, even in the middle of a sentence, and go take prasadam. It's like your main focus. Yes.
So in our group, we have also discussed about assumptions. The 5 ways for dealing with conflict, it was there. And then something new, which is separating facts from observations.
Separating facts from observation. Observation from interpretation.
From interpretation.
Yeah. Good. If you all remember these things, I will be so grateful. And last, there was one more group. Yes.
Prabhu made a very good list about the summary of the reasons because why we have conflicts, like assumptions, like they mentioned.
The causes of conflict, yeah.
But I want to mark one particular phrase that makes sense a lot to me, and is if we have a conflict, it's a sign that the institution, the organization is alive.
Yes.
Because when there is one just pujari in the temple, and no one is coming ever, any guest, any preaching program, no conflicts, everything is peaceful and good.
Yeah.
But when the things are happening, people is effort and people get together, there's service to cover, things to do, projects to fulfill. This is real. Something is happening.
Very good.
So conflict that will happen in that scenario.
Cannot be bad. All right, so talk about these things during lunch. I'm sorry we're 2 minutes late, and we'll see you all in the afternoon. And we have some really interesting, super powerful stuff this afternoon. Hare Krishna.